right, here we go. It's time for Real Raw Recovery. Let's get ready to recover. I'm Joe Tilley.
Say again, I didn't hear
you. I'm Joe Tilley.
I'm Tyler Tilley.
Yes, sir. And today we're talking about true tolerance.
Yeah.
True tolerance. Finally, we begin to see that all people, including ourselves, are to some extent emotionally ill as well as frequently wrong. And then we approach true tolerance and see what real love for our fellows actually means. That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 92. The thought occurred to me that all people are emotionally ill to some extent. How could we not be? Who among us is spiritually perfect? Who among us is physically perfect? How could any of us be emotionally perfect? Therefore, what else are we to do but bear with one another and treat each other as we would be treated in similar circumstances? That is what love really is. So this realization that I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be physically perfect, emotionally perfect, spiritually perfect. You just gotta do what I do. Basically, work towards being the best me I can be, and then well, you know what? Even when it appears that somebody's not doing the best they can, they really are. I think. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but we are limited by our humanness, and sometimes our humanness doesn't even allow us to try very hard. So that's what I see as yeah, that's what I see here. I mean, if I understand, like, if I look at it like everybody's doing the best they can, but some people can't do very good. They're so limited by their own humanness, their own character defects, that they just can't do very well. And when you see somebody who's locked in their addiction, you realize that that's exactly what's happening. That's where they're at. They are, unable to be anything other than what they are in their addiction. And so really they still are doing the best they can with what they got. They're just so locked in, and so if I look at the rest of if I look at the people around me in that way, and I can have compassion and understanding and tolerance and patience and pity and whatever I need to have for them, then I'm not going to be angry that they're not better than they are. When I look at myself, I don't have to get angry at myself for not being better than I am. I can try a little bit harder, and I can do a little bit better, but I have to cut myself for some slack for not doing a little bit better and not being a little bit better, because you know what, I am limited by my humanness, and that's okay. That's okay. Oh, geez. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think the reading is fine.
Yeah.
I think they play a bit of a game when they like to use the words like ill. because the opposite of perfect is not ill, it's just imperfect. So it says,
Right.
who among us is spiritually perfect? But they choose to use the word ill, emotionally ill. It would be like far better to say emotionally confused, or at times emotionally imbalanced or imperfect. But they're aiming for you to have tolerance. So if someone is ill, you're far more apt to being perhaps less objective and more, and you're able to have more of a threshold or something, more of a more tolerance, because if someone's ill, you take it less personally, perhaps. So if you take the general population, like everyone has their ups and downs and their good days and their bad days, including myself.
Yeah.
But I think true tolerance would mean the people that are close to you, because true tolerance for people outside my circle, it's pretty easy in most cases, unless you get into an altercation on with road rage or, shopping at Walmart, then you might run into some sort of altercation with people. And even after that altercation, usually you could, if you're emotionally balanced at all, you'll be able to let it go rather easily, ideally, not always, but ideally. But true tolerance comes when you're dealing with either family members or close friends or people in business. That's where true tolerance comes. And I would not treat people, if they're not ill, I'm not going to treat them as ill. I'm going to treat them as maybe, are you having an off day or what? What's going on? Are you it's not ill. I don't like when they do that. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think there are times where, hey man, I feel ill. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, I just feel off. Okay, that's more accurate. It's not ill. Today I'm scrambled. I'm unstable. I don't feel like, if we were to talk numbers or a platform for a business, or we were going to go to a dinner, whatever the circumstances are, at that point, it would need to be assessed for true tolerance to take place, because I'm not just going to say, oh, dad's ill, so whatever goes. No, it doesn't work that way when you're dealing with people that are actually involved in your life. Fine, if you want to call everyone outside your circle ill, just because that's how you get to a point where you go, well, everyone's just a sick fucking garbage heap. Well, okay. It just doesn't make sense. I don't like it. I don't think it's accurate. I think it's a little bit of a gimmick or game. But again, I think the underlining message on my part is okay, so you don't like that word. Fine, Tyler, change it. So emotionally unstable. Fine. Yes.
Right.
Sometimes
but some people might be offended by the term emotionally unstable. Then what do you do?
Imperfect.
It's just. I think what you're looking at here is a matter of semantics, right? If I decide ill, if I look at ill as just being just a little bit off, just a little bit off, then I'm not going to have that problem that you're having, right? If I look at ill as oh my God, you're, am I judging, is a judgment as.
You cut out. You're gone.
If I look at, sorry, hi, I'm here. I'm here. You hear me?
Yeah.
So if I look at ill as being, something like you're less than human, or there's something really wrong with you, or, if I look at it like that, then but see, that's a judgment based on how you perceive the word ill, the term ill. If I look at the term ill as just meaning a little bit off, then it's not a problem.
But they didn't say that. That's the thing.
Well, that's what you read into it.
Well, if I look up in the word in the dictionary,
you're a little bit ill, and that's why you read that into it.
Right.
Right.
No, but that's not my point, though. My point is about tolerance depending on who the individual is my point. And I'm certainly not going to put you in the category of ill. If I'm dealing with you and I have to be tolerant towards you, I'm not going to get there by just classifying you as ill or imperfect or dented.
Well, yeah, but you know what? So if you're not like, it's a good thing to not take things personally, right? That's one of the four agreements by John Miguel, whatever his name, Ruiz. And it's like um, not taking things personally. So if I don't take things personally, and if I'm, like you're saying, dealing with family, friend, business associate,
People that
and
matter.
people that matter in my life, people that have an effect on me, then if there's something going on with, and I can see that they're maybe they're a little agitated or something's going on because of, though I can tell by the way they're treating me, the way they're responding to me, the way they're reacting in this situation. And I can say that, oh, well, that's, that person's not really in a real good place right now. And that's okay. And I don't have to take that personally. So that's awesome if I can do that.
Right.
It's hard to do that though, because it's hard not to take things personally, because of, if somebody's coming at me in an aggressive way, somebody that's close to me, or acting as if, maybe not really, maybe I'm perceiving that they are acting aloof, or like they're not, they're kind of turning their back on me in a sense. And it's like there seems to be some sort of friction going on here that I can't see what it is. And I mean, I could go as far as to say, hey, is there something going on? And ask that person if there's something going on. Or I could just assume that there's something going on and not take it personally and just work around it.
Or deal with it directly head on.
Yeah, or deal with it directly head on and say, is there something going on? Yeah. That would probably be the best thing to do. But maybe I'm not in a place where I can do that right now. So maybe I just try to work around it.
I think the spin would be that what I was talking to Mom about this earlier this week, yesterday. I think the true tolerance also equally, like the other side of the coin, is with yourself. So when you do judge the shit out of somebody, when you do gossip, when you do go overboard, or you just have an off day or even 2 days, that it's just about going like, I'm just another human being. And it is what it is. And if there's certain behavior that seems to be problematic or become habitual, then we can hopefully adjust that with some help, however that help may take place, and with perhaps an inventory in your term.
Yeah.
But I think the true tolerance would come from the other side of the coin of just like knowing about it's not just about everybody else being quote unquote ill. It's about me being imperfect and having a human experience and having a time on this planet where some days are going to be rocky and some days are going to be tumultuous, and that's okay. And I think when it's not okay is when it's repetitive or it causes major damage that needs to be amended. But for the most part, I just go, oh man, like I can't remember. There was somebody. Oh, there was a beggar on the street. Perfect example. I'm happy I have an example this time. Okay. Perfect example is I was walking to near a market, and I noticed, like, not with any thought at all, but I just noticed there's someone on the street, meaning that I don't want to step on them. So that's as much energy as I gave them. I didn't have any thought because it's very commonplace here. And I think if I try to recall, like, exactly, but I do believe I made eye contact and I noticed there was an old woman, but thin and a little bit perky or like a little bit ill, if you will, and like eccentric or bizarre. She
Yeah.
wasn't just, she was alive. Like she was trying to engage with me in some way, and I didn't give it two more thoughts after that. After I noticed she was just a little bit perky, and she hit me on the leg.
She bit you?
No, she hit me,
Oh, hit you. Okay.
but she hit me with the amount of force that it was very, I'm gonna say it, loving. She hit me like notice me, and she didn't even, like when she hit me and I looked down,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a little bit angry, but I wasn't furious, but I was like, oh come on, like I and when she hit me and I made eye contact with her, she didn't hold out her hand for money even. She was just like playing with me. It seemed like
Yes.
that
Okay.
was
Yeah.
like the so I'm giving her a little benefit of the doubt, but I think it's warranted because
Yeah.
that's just how I felt. Like I didn't feel like she was like, "Oh, come on, you missed me. Like you didn't give me any money." Like she wasn't rude,
Right. Right.
but I was still thrown off that she actually physically touched me and not like grossed out, but just like, you don't need to like hit me though, honey. Like I get it. Like you're fun and and she was kind of, she was a cute, like she wasn't um off-putting in any way. She didn't come
Right.
across as gross or
Yeah.
weird, but she was quirky, like I said, eccentric. So I'm giving this so much information because when I walked away from her, about 5 more seconds, I said, "Oh, I wish I didn't handle it that way. I wish I was a little bit more loving in turn, and in fact, I would have been fine with, if maybe giving her some change or something." And I was a little bit bummed out how I reacted. I felt a little bit not ashamed, but just like, oh, Ty, like you,
You could have been better.
I could have been better. And then my afterthought is, but that's okay. That's you weren't better, and it would have been nice if you were. And now we're going to lay this story to rest. I don't want to carry that anymore. I had to make a conscious decision that it would have been nice if I could have been more kind and gentle, and I wasn't. And then I realized, oh, that kind of hurt me. I felt like I hurt myself by doing that, and she perhaps deserved a little bit better than I treated her. That's the story. And then the final thought was, and now we're going to lay this whole interaction to rest. And that was having love and tolerance for myself, because it would have been easy to carry that a little bit longer. I don't think I would have carried it throughout the day or anything, even naturally. But I made a conscious effort to go, and that's the line, and that's the story, and it could have been better, and that is it.
It. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't need to carry, I'm just a human being like everyone else, walking beside her or across over top of her or sitting next to her. We're all like, it is what it is. Like I don't want to start thinking too much about shit like that. It bothers me like when I do that to myself, because at the end of the day, it matters, but it doesn't. And you have to really know when to draw that line. Like you have to really know when to draw that line, especially for yourself. Okay, how much energy am I going to give into this? And it's not just about like complete like really like extreme circumstances, but day-to-day behavior and interactions is really important. And sometimes, like I said, there are times where like if I went to bed and I woke up like I needed to make an amends, I don't think I'd find that woman again. But I would. I think my learning is like when I do interact with somebody who's not in the best shape or is in a position that they're begging for something, I would, if they are charming in any facet or gentle in any facet, then I would like to reciprocate that. If they're like belligerent or just somebody I don't feel comfortable, whatever reason, that's just like, that's
Yeah.
not my battle. I'm not here to save the homeless people. I'm not, that's not what I'm here on this planet to do. It's just not my fight. And that's okay. There's other people that do that, and that's great. But that's not my fight. Like I have no idea where to begin, and I don't have any energy for it.
Yeah.
I just don't. I can't solve that, and I don't have the capacity to, or the passion. But what I do is that I can match people if they're kind and gentle, with kindness and gentleness in return, and that's the lesson from that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think that's basically what that reading is all about to me. Like that's what I'm hearing is all about seeing some good in a maybe not a great situation, but and seeing how we can be better, but not beating ourselves up for not being better. But just because it's something we can learn from. It's something, like you said, the next time something like that happens, you're going to be in a situation where you can probably do a little bit better, and we can learn from not even necessarily mistakes, but learn from our experiences.
Okay, I got two things on that note. So where like this true tolerance comes into play though. Like if it's a blanket statement, I have a hard time with it, because if a guy's if a guy, especially in Bangkok, when a homeless person, not always, but when a homeless person sees a foreigner coming, it's kind of like there's a good chance that he's going to get money from that foreigner, or maybe he's had experience. Like we're kind of like walking ATMs in some cases.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll get guys like rattling their cup and like I owe them the money.
Yeah.
And I don't just go, oh, he's a sick man that I would grant. Like
right.
I don't grant him the same. I don't grant him the same courtesy I would you. I just don't.
Right. I was thinking about the same thing because when you were talking about, I was thinking about a guy who I see, in Oshawa begging, right? And
where else?
What bothers me about him is I've given him money before, and there's it's just kind of like he doesn't acknowledge it. He looks at it. It's almost like in a sense of entitlement, and it bothers me. And it bothers me. But what I'm thinking to myself is like, why does that bother me? Why does that bother me? The guy's begging, how he reacts in response to that, the money I give him or the money I don't give him, whatever, how that person responds. What is that? Why is that any of my business? And why does that matter on how I'm going to treat him, or her, or whatever? Because, it's just the fact that I make a judgment call. I assume that he has a sense of entitlement. And it's like when you let somebody in, driving along and there's somebody trying to get into your lane, and you back off and let them into your lane, and they don't wave to you and acknowledge you. You look at what I've done for you. What bothers me about that is because I assume that there is a sense that they have a certain sense of entitlement, and it bothers me. And so why is it that it bothers me that they have this certain sense of entitlement and they're not grateful? Like, because I'm judging. Right.
Yeah, but you got to, okay, so that's, we differ, like, so then that's where you would just drop it. So what, in my experience, there's two things about something like that. When I would ask myself, so why does that bother me? First response is typically, let's say 90% of the time, I would not do that. I would not act in that manner.
Okay.
Secondly, this is a universal issue. It's not just happening to you and bothers you. If someone holds open the door and they don't say thank you, yes, it's not a big deal and you can get over it. But it's funny how it pisses everybody off. And the people it pisses off is because they wouldn't react in that way. So the people that do react, that don't have any gratitude or don't show it, it bothers you because you wouldn't do that. So it's hard for you to understand why they wouldn't do that, why they wouldn't show you some sort of courtesy or some sort of response or
acknowledgement of your
acknowledgement, right? And
grace, right?
So there's two things about that I would look at deeper, and it's kind of like, okay, so you could have one solution which would probably make the most sense, which the reading is talking about, just having tolerance for them so that you can let it go so it doesn't bother you anymore, right? Like that's the most healthy outcome would be ideal, is that you are able to let it go however you're able to come to that conclusion. Again, I wouldn't be calling them ill, but that's nor here nor there, we've decided. But now the other reason though is funny to me is that this is not just like, oh, this, if you don't say thank you when Joe Tilley opens the door, he gets really upset. That's not the case. This is the case for like 60% of the population, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
So I just look at that, like, again, where I categorize us as human beings. And if you're the kind of person that doesn't say thank you or does some sort of acknowledgement for a door opening, then you're going to probably get a judgment from me. And it won't be long lasting, but it's kind of like, I really hope I don't have any more interactions with a person like that. Like, you can just tell, like, you're able to profile somebody pretty easily on simple things like that.
Okay.
So I just think there's always more to the story. And again, how deep you want to go with somebody not thanking you opening the door is pretty, like, hopefully it doesn't last very long. But if you expand on that kind of interaction, like, let's say, like, again, you're playing the slot machines over there or something.
I got a jackpot, baby. Yeah, no, my door thing. So I just think, like, dealing with people on let's say on a more critical issue, or on a more, like, how people respond to you and act with you is really important. And I think that it shouldn't just always just fall by the wayside and I just jump to, I should just be tolerant. I think I need to have, like, some sort of wits about me that I can judge the situation. And again, somebody not open or saying thank you when I open the door, we're probably going to leave it at that. But if we're interacting with somebody and there's, like, exchanges going on and how they treat me is a little rude, or I feel off put, then there might need to be more investigation with that, instead of just going, oh, they're sick. Are you there? You are gone. Oh, yeah, you're back. Okay. So, yeah. So why, I mean, why does it matter? Like, why does it matter? Why do I have to have that discernment? Why can't I just say, oh, well, like, a person's grateful and acknowledges my good deed? Great. If a person isn't grateful and doesn't acknowledge my good deed, great. Why can't I just say that? And why does it have to be? Why do I have to make that judgment call? Hello?
I'm here.
Like, why does it matter?
I think what I'm saying is sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't.
And that's based on where you're at.
I also think yes, but I also think it depends on the situation. I'm not just talking about holding the door.
Well, because, I mean, I want to rise above the attitude that this guy's a freaking scumbag.
Well, you don't got to jump there either.
Right?
It doesn't have to be, like, so radical.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
like,
why-
okay,
like-
like for
I mean,
this is going to be.
they're like, I mean, you don't know what, like, I think chances are, like that guy who I have a problem with because he doesn't show gratitude when I give him money. You know, like I flip him a loony and he looks the other way, and you know, he doesn't even say anything. He'll just looks the other way and goes searching for the next loony. And I think, what the hell? I'm giving you a loony, and you know, what's going on?
But I'm trying to take like human nature into account. Let's say you gave that guy a loony, right?
Yeah.
This is a bit of a hypothetical, but it seems like it just kind of hits my point in what I'm getting at. And it's kind of like, and this is a bigger question for me. You give that guy $1 and he kind of acts like it wasn't enough. Like you leave feeling like you offended him, if anything. Right?
Yeah.
Like, why'd you only give me $1? Something like, and he kind of like, he kind of grunted and he was not happy with the $1.
Right.
And then later in the day, you go to a coffee shop and you see him at the counter digging through his pockets, and he doesn't have enough money to pay for the coffee that he's ordered, but he's struggling because he thinks he has it in his pocket. So he's holding up the line, and he is then, what are you doing over there, Pop?
Nothing.
It's like super noisy.
Oh, really? No, it's all good.
You have a hard time sitting still. I know.
Yeah. No, I don't.
You don't?
I just got other things to do. I got.
You know what? You're ill. I understand.
Okay, so continue your story. So he's in line and he can't pay for something, and
And then,
he
so
held up the line.
I'm not jumping up to go pay for that coffee, am I?
No, you're not.
Right, and that's my point. It's kind of, and let's say you interact with somebody and they don't give you the response you feel is not necessary or required, but you just, like, there's no acknowledgement, and then you have business like there's just like human nature is involved here. It's not just your personality, is what I'm saying.
Right.
That's
well,
all.
I understand that that's right. Ultimately, it's like I still would like that I can decide that, you know what, I'm gonna go pay for that guy's coffee anyway.
Yeah, correct.
You know, and I don't even care.
Right.
I don't even care, and I'm gonna let that go, and I'm gonna pay for his coffee away. And if he acknowledges me or not, I don't even care. And I'd like to be there. You know, I'd like to be at that place. And I realize that some days I'm not going to be on that place, and some days maybe I am. But, you know, I like to think that I can rise above my pettiness. Right?
Okay.
And maybe that's not pettiness, but.
No. I agree. And so now I'm just going to up the ante quickly. I'll do this quickly. Let's say you're in a position of power and you're looking to hire somebody, not on Wall Street, because then I think it needs to be cutthroat or something. So less cutthroat, something more like it's just having the wherewithal to know about human character and to know where they stand is my point. So let's say you're hiring a position and you're going to work that day, and you're probably hiring a few candidates. And you noticed a guy going into the building, and he let the door slam on an old lady on the way in, and he didn't think twice about it. And he obviously saw her, but he was in a rush. Probably didn't get it. And then next thing you know, you're sitting in front of him, and he's applying for one of the jobs.
Right.
And again, he's not a lawyer. We're not talking about something where it's critical. Let's imagine it's something in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
Now we just up the ante. So now we can take out any sort of illness that one might have. He's a normal human being for the most part.
Yeah.
And he has his faults, and maybe he was in a rush, but you got to take all that into consideration. And now you're going to make a judgment call. He obviously didn't have the wherewithal keep that door open for the lady, even for the 5 seconds that it would have took for her to waddle through.
Sure.
Now what? You're gonna let it go and go, oh, but he's a really good kid. He volunteers with the volleyball club. Oh, he does, like, what now what?
Well, that's an entirely different scenario.
No, it's not.
Because now your job as a person who's hiring is to have the discernment of who you want to work with on a regular basis, who you want representing your company, and you know something. You've detected something about this person's character that you're not really cool with. So now you've got your job. Now you see, if you're going to do your job, which I'm assuming that if you got that job, you want to do it properly. You're going to make a call on that, and you're going to go, nope, not this guy. I don't give a shit what his resume looks like. When it comes down to it, you know that you're in the hospitality business. Your job is to take care of people, and this guy had an opportunity to do that and didn't. So you know right now that this is not a fit. So that's not the same kind of scenario. That's a different.
I believe it is.
You know, because you've got an attachment, because it's your job. You've got an attachment. If you're holding the door if you're the person who's holding the door for the other person and they don't acknowledge you, and you have a problem with that, that's different, because you've got no skin in the game.
I believe there's again, I'm trying to come up with these scenarios off the fly, but it's about human interaction. And like I said, it's not just a Joe Tilley problem or a Tyler Tilley problem. It is an issue that affects human society, and courtesy goes a long way. And I just feel that needs to be acknowledged at some point. And when somebody goes out of, that's the thing. It's like, okay, again, at the end of the day, what's best for me? What's best for me is to let this go. If the stakes are a little bit higher, you got to look at the whole story. And for me to go into line and clearly not acknowledge or be courteous to somebody, I'm actually still creating an action by not doing that. And that's affecting other people.
Right.
And that takes a certain character to do that. And that character I profile and I'll stereotype, and I don't want anything to do with them. Depending on how high the stakes are.
Right.
I'm sure I've not held the door open, or I didn't say thank you before. I'm sure of it. So I don't want to be judged and crucified for it. But I'm just talking about the stakes being a little bit higher, but it's still coming down to like me going, oh, should I just let that go? Or do I really need to investigate this interaction? Right.
And the guy but you see, until you walk a mile in a person's shoes and know exactly where they're coming from, you don't know the whole picture. You can only make a judgment call based on what you see in front of you. The guy who took the loony from me and didn't acknowledge me might be so wrapped up in his addiction that he's so intent on getting that next hit, whatever, that he can't even bring himself to acknowledge me and say thank you. He's just so, and I mean, that could be the case. I mean, I'm giving you another what if.